I identify as a feminist, or more specifically, I am a liberal feminist. This is because to me, feminism strives for gender equality and does not view women as superior to men despite the misconception that it does. However, women are generally more oppressed than men, so they tend to be the focus in feminist movements. On top of this, my feminism is intersectional, meaning that it includes all kinds of women, not just white heterosexual women in Western society. So it involves trans women and women of all ethnicities, sexualities, religions and cultures. No matter who a woman is, she most likely fits into a negative stereotype due to there being so many. Articles from Ellie.com and Independent.co.uk touch on stereotypes such as the slut and the spinster and the blonde bimbo. In a nutshell, smart girls have no social life and will probably never find love, while pretty girls are stupid and only care about clothes and sex. This is probably the main reason for me thinking feminism is important, as men do not seem to get the same treatment. Due to not everyone agreeing with feminism or liking to label themselves as a feminist, I consider it as a part of my identity. I came across this idea in late 2012/early 2013 on a blogging website called Tumblr. As I was only about 13 or 14 years old, I was heavily influenced by these views and opinions that were being presented to me as the correct way to think. This can be known as secondary socialization because it is through the media that I learned these different ways for how I should act and behave in society when it comes to particular topics. I now know to keep an open mind and hold back negative judgment when approaching these issues, and to not dismiss them as irrelevant before I truly understand it. At the age of 17, I continued to be kept up to date with both Tumblr and Twitter due to the views of society constantly evolving. I adapt my thoughts and opinions to cater for newer issues that face modern-day society, such as the recent larger focus on transgender people. Since it has been brought to my attention, I have learnt to accept these people when before I would laugh at jokes at their expense. Nevertheless, I have now formed some of my own opinions so that I do not blindly believe everything I read on the internet. This development has practically altered my personality since I now have different values. When it comes to me as a feminist, I can refer to Roger's concentric circle. This part of my identity used to be a part of my core self, but as I have grown more passionate throughout the years, it has reached my private self. I will tell my close friends and discuss it with them as they have begun sharing these views too, but it has yet to reach my public self. My fear of being disliked and judged is still stronger than how I feel about feminism, so I do not choose to directly talk about it on Twitter or Facebook where people on there know me. This links into the Johari window because being a feminist used to be known to me and not to others, while now it is still known to me, but also much more known to others too. Due to the rise of feminism in my life, I have found myself becoming quite defensive over women. The negative view that society places over them has encouraged me to want to stand up for them. This feeling has bled into my everyday life. I watch a lot of fictional TV shows, but now I tend to watch them through the eyes of a feminist, so I have more requirement for what I watch. So I now prefer shows with either a strong female lead or a variety of female characters. This is because I think that good female representation is important in the media, especially TV. A good female character is one that has not been written for the sole purpose of serving a male character's storyline, and has a range of both positive and negative traits that add to her personality. The main idea is for her to be just as complex as her male counterparts, without resorting to being identical to them. Arguably, it was Princess Leia from the Star Wars films that helped introduce female characters to the film and television industry. She was an independent leader who knew how to speak her mind and take care of herself, and despite being practically the only woman of the original trilogy, she somehow managed to not be tied to any of the men, regardless of her romance with Han Solo. ExoJane.com supports this by mentioning how Star Wars broke a barrier with a princess that was not in distress, who hijacked her own rescue, and was both a leader and a warrior, and that she wasn't afraid to be vulnerable and accept love. The first Star Wars movie was released in 1977, so although Leia may not have been all that groundbreaking in the present day, her character is very much a step forward for feminism. I think that feminism has contributed to my love for the character Clara Oswald from Doctor Who, as it was when I was learning about feminism that she debuted on the show. I instantly adored both the fictional character and the actress who played her, Jenna Coleman. I believe that the fact that my mind was opening up to the idea that women are generally looked down on in society helped me to see the good in this character over the bad. I genuinely did not understand the initial public opinion that Clara was merely a two-dimensional character with little relevance to the plot. Nor did I agree with the hate for her that later developed in her second series on the show, when her character became more in-depth and central, since it was then thought that she had too much involvement in the show. It can easily be argued that these members of the audience were purposely looking for flaws in this female character, even if they did not realise it. What it really comes down to is the internalised misogyny that most of us have growing up due to being surrounded by unnecessary criticism for women, whether it comes from the media or from our parents. We have to unlearn this unconscious prejudice we naturally have towards women and to some extent men, as we are socialised into believing stereotypes and seeing them as the worst possible thing a person can be. The nagging wife stereotype is often portrayed in comedies in which we laugh at the husband's sarcastic responses to his wife telling him to help her with the housework, yet we do not notice how the wife is often justified in behaving this way towards her usually lazy and inconsiderate other half. I admit that not long ago I would blindly see the comedy in this, but I have grown bored of this overused trope, which is more of an insult to women than I previously realised. Because of the rise of feminism in my life, I am no longer a person that can watch anything without using a feminist reading, whether it be a documentary, a teen comedy, or a sci-fi film. Despite all of this, feminism is quickly becoming the social norm in modern-day society, partially due to the support of various celebrities. For instance, much-loved actress Emma Watson spoke at the UN about the importance of feminism. She pointed out how fighting for women's rights has become synonymous with man-hating. Even the celebrities as young as 17-year-old actress Amanda Stenberg and 14-year-old actress Rowan Blanchard have used their fame to promote gender equality, particularly for women of colour and trans women who are frequently forgotten by white feminists, who only focus on white cisgender women. Both girls were named the Feminist Celebrity of the Year by the Miss Foundation for Women in 2015. Support like this is what makes people less wary of using the term feminist to describe themselves, as it becomes less of a taboo word and more casual and even declared to be common sense. This contributes to the change in connotations that surround feminism. So when someone calls themselves a feminist, most of us no longer decode that they must be a radical man-hating lesbian. Now in modern-day Western society, the word feminist signifies that the person in question is an open-minded individual who understands the issues involving gender today and care enough about it to want it to change for the better. I have gone through the process myself of learning about feminism and what it really means, and the ultimate importance of it in the grand scale of things. Due to this, I am now more confident with speaking about gender inequality, and my firm belief in the significance of it is what makes me a feminist. This development of my identity proves that John Fiske is correct. Self is a process, as our views on ourselves and others continuously evolve and change. I have rid myself of most of my internalised misogyny, and due to this I can now look at women with a new modern perspective. I can perceive them in the same way that people have been perceiving men for decades, with the goal of gender equality. Therefore, everything I have mentioned in this video may no longer apply to me in a few years' time, or it may have changed in some ways. I doubt I will ever reach a point where my views and opinions stop being altered through resocialisation from the media and those around me.